a heart attack, and I ended up just having a panic attack. But it really was a pivotal moment because it knocked me on my butt and made me fully realize the way I had been living here in Nashville was not sustainable. And that like I was going out way too much drinking, getting in that scene, exhausting myself, having no boundaries, having no margin, not taking care of myself physically, mentally, emotionally, compromising anything to try and build the business up, which really didn't do anything. For me, it was something. Then for the next few months, I was really struggling with like getting out of the house without having panic attacks and stuff. Eventually, after like the first few weeks, I was like, I gotta go see a therapist again. Like I can't. I know something exploded in my brain and I need to sort this out. So I started doing therapy again and worked through all of it. And, initially was diagnosed, panic disorder and depression. And I don't know how this all works, but I'm no longer that, a reversal diagnosis after, years learning how to take care of myself. And this is not to say that if you are still struggling with those things, you're not taking care of yourself either. I was able to work through it over many years and kind of, I feel like I now am equipped. It's really the best way to say it. I'm equipped to have a healthy relationship with those things to where I can see, I'm grateful. Honestly, that is the best word, grateful for anxiety, depression at this stage, because they're just little signals in my body that are usually telling me, hey, you're either committing to things you don't want to do or you're romanticizing the past. That's anxiety, depression for me. How it manifests itself is usually bodily. I've overcommitted. I haven't been taking care of myself as well as I should be, or I'm romanticizing some past situation of thinking, oh, it was better back then, or oh, I miss my friends or something, or, and those are all normal thoughts too. Like it's not weird, but it's how you handle them and what you do with your thoughts and feelings. I've found that really has changed my life over the years. But, my breaking point was a literal breaking point of like, I just couldn't function, and it was a scary time because at the beginning of it, I didn't know if I would ever be quote unquote normal again, which normal is not a real thing, in my opinion. Like the normal I was chasing was just like that was depression. I was chasing a time where it didn't totally debilitate me, but it was still, anxiety was still there. I just was drinking to get rid of it or, doing anything to not sit still kind of situation. But yeah, for me, I had to be knocked on my ass, type of situation. But I know not everybody needs that to happen,
I feel like we all have these like red flags, like when we see something is creeping too much into our personal space, or we
100%.
don't really have time for that,
Yep.
and we just choose to ignore it and just we get FOMO of like, oh, let me just do this project, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or let me just take this time that I don't have to do something I don't need to do. And
correct.
We all see the writing on the wall, but we choose
Right.
to ignore
Right.
that writing time and time again.
Well, it's just hard, and that's like the people pleaser, for
Yes.
me. I get asked to, at this stage, and it was not this way, but I get asked to go to coffee 3-4 times a week in town, like all the time. And I started like a year and a half ago just saying no to everyone. It was just like it either had to be like an all yes or an all no, because I was picking and choosing random people. I didn't even have a reason. Just people wanted to hang out with me and pick my brain, which is a complete honor and a gift to when people want to be with you or, value what you have to say. But it got to a stage as the podcast has grown and kind of this niche following within Nashville I have now with mastering it, it became that, which is, it's too much. Like I can't go to coffee with everybody and I can't jump on the phone with everybody, because if I did that, I would never be able to master. Like I wouldn't have time to do the thing I love doing. I also wouldn't have time to serve those people that are even asking me out to breakfast or something, But that's a really hard thing for me at this stage. I've gotten to a point where I can just say no and let my no be a no. And I used to try and like comfort the situation. I'd be like, thanks, maybe, next week or 2 weeks, which really in my head, I'm like, that's never happening. Like, just like excuse, like straight lies, essentially. And I just got to this stage, a year and a half or two ago where I was like, you know what? I'm an adult. Like, these are adults. And if they think I hate them because I don't want to have coffee with them, then that's their problem, And of course, everyone responds positively. Like, no one has ever, to my knowledge, been like, you're an asshole, dude, because you won't go to breakfast with me. But it's an interesting thing having to navigate as your career grows and people want to be a part of your life, but you just don't have the time. Otherwise, I'd be a wreck. Like, I'd be a terrible person for myself. I'd be a terrible person for my wife. I'd be a terrible person for all my clients.
I mean, I think this is something that you kind of wrap on a lot in your podcast, is, you have to charge what you're worth because you're doing your clients a favor. It's like, if I charged you less, I'd go out of business. Like, I'd go crazy.
You are correct.
And it's so true. And that's something I'm struggling with a little bit now of like, what can I actually charge people that will hopefully keep me in business, what I mean?
Right.
But at the same time, I do still care about my clients and I don't want them to, go broke hiring me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's tricky to navigate.
It's tricky.
I don't have the only thing I can say is what's worked, which is me charging what I need to charge to make this work and keep the lights on, essentially. That became something like 5 years ago. I remember telling my wife, because it was like after I'd started therapy and started like feeling more clarity on how to approach business and life and balance and margin and what does it take and, how do you make this sustainable and healthy? And I remember just kind of having a conversation with my wife and being like, if this is going to work, once again, it's the same thing with Instagram. It's got to work on my terms. So I'm going to charge what I need to charge. I'm going to work the hours I want to work. And I'm going to say yes and no to the things I want to do. And if it works in the next year, if that works, then great. If the business collapses and it's just not in the cards right now to do music the way I want to do it in this current climate, then I'll go get a different job. Like, it was kind of like this thing of like, I had to surrender that if this is going to work, it's got to work on my terms. So I'm going to charge what I need to charge and just let the chips fall as they may. And for me, it worked out. Like, there's so many factors I know that go into that working out of probably being in Nashville and different things going on, being in a music city.
I think it's also about how much time you're putting into it. If you're just getting started,
100%.
like, you can't do that, with all due respect to you and to people getting started. Like, it's like, there is a stage where you kind of have to say yes to everything. Yes. Otherwise, you're not going to learn anything.
Yeah.
But then I guess the tricky part is finding out when is that time that I could start to say no, and how do you do that in a way that you don't wreck your revenue stream, but you also I don't know, right now my goal is to kind of do more of the things I want to do and less of the things I don't want to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? So how do I kind of increase that pie?
Totally.
And it's but you have to do it in a way that you're still paying the bills and still being I have to support my family, etc.
100%. Yeah, I think it's the more I speak with people about, how did I do what I do, I try to make it as clear as possible that I know for a fact that a lot of things aligned for me. Call it luck, if you want, like right place, right time. I put myself in a lot of right places, and that was a lot of the work of Nashville and meeting people and networking and really carving kind of a sound that I like and finding people who like that sound, is something I've worked super hard on to do. But I know there's a lot of, serendipity that has gone into my success. I can't deny that, And I think that's with anybody's career. There's always things that happen that could have been, I don't know, make or breaks. Could have been like somebody I randomly meet gives me some work and then that pays for the bills that month. And if I didn't meet them, it's that thing of maybe I would have quit and gotten a job then that week, and that would have been it. All
you could do is work hard and prepare for that one moment.
That's kind of it.
Or those moments,
Yeah. And then if you do grow, for my wife and I, we built up, emergency funds. And then after that, we've diversified the last 3 years into real estate stuff and doing passive income with that. And I just keep dumping all my music money into things that will hopefully make me more money to weather the storms of music. And it took us a long time just to get off paycheck to paycheck. It's probably 6 years, of the 12 years I've been doing it.
That makes a lot of sense.
And it's super hard.
Yeah.
Everyone knows who decides to put this burden on yourself of I'm going to do music. No one else is making you do it. We've decided, let me try and do one of the hardest things in life.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
I just interviewed a guy named Steve Ornest, who has a studio and who co-owns Total Access Recording in LA. And he was telling me that he worked with Ken Scott, the legendary producer that worked with the Beatles and David Bowie. And he said that I asked him, like, what's the one thing that you took away from, having spent time with Ken Scott? He said, like, and I hope I'm not butchering, I think I got my story right.
Yeah.
So hopefully I didn't screw this up. But I think what he said was, you only do this if this is the only thing you can do. If you can do anything else, do it.
Exactly.
You're going to burn so many bridges and it's going to be a shit show. But
yes,
if this is the only thing you can do, then do it.
Right. That's how I feel. Like it, at this stage still, it's the only, there are other things I'm good at, but this is still the only thing I get up for, not, I get up for other things, my wife and relationships, but, from a work standpoint, it's still the only thing I want to do. And it's what I'm best at. I know in life is mastering records, like 100%. The best skill is mastering records. And then making pizza is number 2. I think.
Yeah, I remember the pizza podcast.
Yeah. That's still a thing. The pizza is my second career after mastering. So
when you retire, you'll open a pizza place.
100%.
Sam's Pizza.
100%. I just got a new book for Christmas called Mastering Pizza. It's all on like the world famous doughs of the world. And I didn't know there were so many ways to make dough within pizza because dough is so simple. But this book goes into like different hydration levels of water to dough and like all these, I'll say, advanced techniques on pizza dough and how
I don't know anything about baking. You're like originally from Chicago, right? Is deep dish your jam?
Yeah. Deep dish is my jam, but I make like Neapolitan style. That's been
Italian, right?
My pursuit.
Margarita.
That's it. Yeah. That's my pursuit is, the leopard char, dough, wood fire, or depends on what I'm cooking on. But that's kind of my lifelong journey is creating the perfect Neapolitan dough. So,
yeah, I'm sure you'll get there.
I will.
If you just keep at it long enough.
That's right.
I wanted to actually riff on podcasting just because, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've had such a journey since we last spoke on podcasting, and you've continued your podcast, and obviously it's great. And it's like, I don't know, it's so interesting to see the difference between, I guess, like a podcast with the same hosts every time.
Right.
And there's like a banter versus like what I'm doing where I'm interviewing people. And I feel like, I don't know, my thoughts are that people that, do it with a co-host, you kind of get this like rapport going, and that becomes kind of like the magic of the show.
Yes.
And also I feel like it's an easier way to kind of build up an authority in a matter, if that makes sense. Because it's like, whereas what I'm doing is like building relationships and just meeting a ton of people.
Right.
And that has a completely different set of, amazing takeaways. So it's like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts? Like, what's it like
it's great.
podcasting this many years?
Well, yeah, we're in year 5. 4 years are done, and this is year 5 that's out right now. And it's been such a gift. We were chatting a little bit before we started recording of just my co-host Matt Garber, who is somebody I mentored and now is a peer in mastering and in life, and I just adore him. But we've talked to each other almost every Wednesday for 5 straight years for 2 to 3 hours, and that has become something I look forward to every week. It's become a staple in my mental health. It's become one of the greatest gifts, honestly. It circles back to relationships, which we don't have to go back down that path again, but it's something that